Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to be doing a comparison before and after look at the Titanic, and then I am going to be showing some older real photos of the Titanic. There are a few photos that have been kind of disputed. Is it the Titanic? Is it the Olympic? Including an interior construction photo. But just taking a look at, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this one. This is kind of like the perspective shot of the grand staircase. The upper photo is, yes, it's not the Titanic, it's the Olympic, but basically they had the same grand staircases, so you can kind of see the scale of the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean in comparison to what it would have looked like in its prime, its very unfortunate short-lived prime. These are the Turkish baths, so you can see there on the left versus on the right. That's a very nice upscale photo on the right. That was a James Cameron expedition where they found the Turkish bath area, and just, it is crazy how much of the side of the wall there, the design of it was basically completely preserved. You can also see the light fixtures over top as well. These are photos from the original Titanic. That's a nice deck shot. I would imagine before leaving, that's another very historic photo of the Titanic. You can very easily tell this is the Titanic by the A deck being half closed off, so you can see those windows there, and then the other half of it is open. That, in my opinion, significantly upgraded the Titanic over the Olympic in terms of aesthetic. It just makes it look significantly cleaner and almost just like a more expensive, grandiose ship. There is the Café Parisian, which was one of the newer additions to the Titanic that the Olympic did not have. Through those doors right there would be another restaurant, the a la carte restaurant, but they did take a photograph of it because it was different in comparison to the Olympic. It didn't exist on the Olympic, so that's why they photographed it. That's why they didn't photograph the grand staircase on the Titanic. It's basically the exact same as the Olympic and the Olympic, so they already had all of those photographs. Ah, yes, the private Promenade deck. I always wonder what it was like as this was flooding, you know? I've seen depictions of it, really only one depiction. There was no movie depiction of it, unfortunately. I wish they would have shown the private Promenade deck flooding. It's just so interesting, like you've got your own little cutout cubby area, so unique, especially in the early 1900s, to have a luxurious area like that on any type of ship that was that size to where it's completely private. These are interior first class staterooms. Very nice wood paneling. The reading and writing room, which was only open to the women, very nice as well. This is the pool. You cannot access the pool, unfortunately. It's blocked off in several different ways. One of the ways it's blocked off is by one of the watertight doors. I do wonder when the pool ended up flooding. You can see how they made the pool. It's significantly below the surface. It's like there's a foot in between the water and the actual, like where you enter it, because of the, potential spillover. If the Titanic would experience rough seas, there's a final photo of the Titanic off in the distance. That one almost looks fake. Yeah, it looks like they photoshopped that one. This is a before and after comparison of the front of the Titanic, the bow of the ship during one of its sea tests, it looks like, and then it at the bottom of the ocean. This is an interior first class stateroom comparison. It doesn't look like the exact same fireplace, but you can tell where the portholes would be located. If you look at the photo on the right, the portholes would be right up to the right and to the left there. And you can almost like see one of the portholes. I actually think you can slightly see one if I zoom in right there. It's always chilling to see the portholes of a sunken ship. I don't know why. That's an overlay. I think it's kind of hard to tell, but you can kind of see where all the damage was to the front of the ship. There's a kind of a better image of an overlay with the newer section along with what it currently looks like, or what it presumably looked like, about 10 years ago at this point. This is the stern of the ship. So the stern, there's really no point in trying to explore it. It's completely imploded. It's totally destroyed. The interior, that is, at least. Although the propellers are still down there, and those have been explored. This is kind of a side angle, kind of a different vantage. It looks like this was a screenshot that was captured during one of the dives. It doesn't look like an actual photo that people share a lot, but you can see a different perspective of the grand staircase, the hole in it, because there are no stairs, along with what it looked like in 1912, or what we presumed it to look like. This is the stern of the ship, an aerial shot. That's kind of a cool image. 2005 versus 1912, basically 100 years difference on what it looks like. And then these are just more photos of the Titanic along with the Olympic during the build at Belfast in between 1909 and 1912. There's a very, very early photo of the Titanic. That's got to be one of the first photos ever taken of it right there. Barely anything to it. You can just see the scaffolding going around it. Very sweet photo of the Titanic and the Olympic right next to each other. Very rare. There's another photo of the Titanic during one of its sea trials. There's another very, very early construction photo of the Titanic. There is the stern of the Titanic. And when it comes to the building timeline of the Titanic, the construction officially started on March 31st of 1909. And its maiden voyage was basically exactly 3 years later. These are more early photos of the Titanic. Here's the interior shot I was talking about. Now, I've heard people say, oh, this is the Olympic, it's the Titanic. It is hard to tell based off of the perspective, but it's very interesting. Very few, basically no interior photos of the Titanic were taken during construction. These are just photos of some of the things that were installed into the Titanic, like the engines, the boilers, and such as well, transported to be installed onto the Titanic. But either way, guys, those are just some interesting older photos of the Titanic during construction and also some before and after perspective photos of it. This is a unique perspective shot of the Titanic setting sail for the first and the final time. Normally you don't see photos like that, just more photos. I also saw this that was recently in the news, the floating door prop that I'm sure everyone remembers from the movie, the 97 film, sells for almost $1 million. And you can see the wooden door right there. Also, we did have the news that Titanic 2 possibly is back on track. I did a video on that maybe like a month ago. Actually, maybe like 2 weeks ago. We'll see if it ends up getting built. I'm not going to hold my breath. It doesn't seem very likely, but they said they wanted to start construction in the first quarter of 2025. They wanted the builders picked out by Q4 of 2024. Wouldn't that be a cool process to follow, the building of Titanic 2? I'm sure they're going to document it if it ends up happening, but Clive Palmer, the situation with that being delayed for well over a decade at this point, again, it seems unlikely, but either way, it is kind of cool to get some news on that. The Chinese Titanic, I haven't heard anything on it. I think it's just rotting away. So that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.